Hi, folks. Welcome to Walking on the Weene Side. I'm Ken Weene, co-host of It Matters Radio. And today I'm getting to do something a little unusual for me, not for It Matters Radio, but for me personally, because today I'm talking about music. And as you know, most of the time, I only talk about spoken word kind of topics, but sometimes the lyrics of the songs that we get to hear at Matters Radio are so striking, so touch us, that we just want to share a little bit more about that side of the music. And today I have with me Joe Kidd and Sheila Burke. And you may notice that they are wearing hats that kind of bespeak a little bit of the kind of music that they have, because they have a common heritage, a combination of Irish and Native American traditions that come out of the Appalachian region of Kentucky and West Virginia. And they've used that background to write some very profound music. It's really simply special. It's a blend of universal and timeless Americana, folk, and world music with powerful lyrics and their beautiful voices as well. I'm going to just mention the debut CD, Everybody Has a Purpose, was released in 2015. And it includes some songs that are really special, like Soldiers in the Army of Mercy and Peace. That song, by the way, received the Global Music Award for Folk Song of the Year. And it's also a song that's been played quite a lot over in the area of the Holy Land. It's trying to reach across the borders between Israel, Palestine, and Lebanon. Joe have been honored for their work, for example, at the Detroit Music Awards, and Concert of Colors, and, well, Joe has been inducted into the Michigan Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They've appeared all over the place, both here in the States and Canada, down in Mexico, and I believe they're currently talking about a tour across the pond to Great Britain. Anyway, with that kind of, and I really kind of condensed it, folks, because there's so much more we could say, but I really want to get you to know Joe Kidd and Sheila Burke. Guys, thanks for walking on the Weene side today.
Thank you, Ken. Well, I guess the show's over. That's it. That's pretty much the whole thing right there.
Yeah, there's the plug, you know.
I can't think of anything else to say.
But you do have a lot to say.
We want to thank you for having us on today. We really, really appreciate it. And when you mentioned at the beginning that this is a show about things that matter and the spoken word, you really honor us. And I'll tell you why. When Joe and I first began working together, he said one of the most important things to him was to be a poet and a lyricist. And people ask us often, where do we get our inspiration? It's life events, people we meet, things that happen, reflections on what's going on. So the inspiration comes to us, we write it, but it comes to us through the words, and sometimes it comes together, the words and the melody, and sometimes it's a separate thing. Sometimes it comes in 5 minutes, sometimes it takes a few days or a year. But quite often it just comes to us as an inspiration. So when you're talking about, it's the message though. We consider ourselves messengers. The words and the music come to us, and we just express it as best we can. But it matters to us. We're not just, maybe we're a little too serious sometimes, but we have a lot of fun with it too. But I think all of our songs have meaning and purpose and have a message.
I believe that words are probably the most powerful invention of humanity. I believe that they're more powerful than bombs. They're more powerful than any kind of any force. I believe that you can change the world, and the world has been changed thousands of times with a word.
Yes. Yes, the words
and
that we write and
if
the
you
words
can,
that we share.
if you can utilize that and employ that power as an artist, then you can be a very influential person in the world. And I think sometimes it's scary because people use words for destruction or for dividing people, but that's not what we do. We try to bring it all together in a peaceful and happy way to do things. Make people happy.
I don't know if I'd always use the word happy to describe your lyrics, because they're very evocative, not just of happy things, but of very serious things. I'd like to share a few lyrics with the audience. Now, during the show, we're going to play some of your songs, but I'm just going to share reading a few, just a few lines, and I'm going to start with Soldiers in the Army of Mercy and Peace, which has been really one of the most powerful and effective of your songs. And it starts out, "We ran through the back door in the middle of the night, didn't know what we ran for, in the snow and the ice, headed straight for the border just to keep warm, trying to find our mother in the middle of the storm. We entered the city just before dawn, singing, 'Isn't it a pity something went wrong?'" Now, what gave you the stimulus to write that song? You must have been empathizing with something, or been aware of something in the world that made you come up with those lyrics.
That's true. That song transforms right after that into a series of visions. The part that you read was inspired by I get choked up just thinking about it, really, but a massacre in the middle of the night by an army that came in and destroyed a village, and no one knew what was happening. And we just kind of put ourselves in that village. Someone crashing through the door, and we had to escape somehow and try to find refuge and our family.
And of course, the thing that makes us particularly powerful is you don't tell us where that village is, because there have been so many villages. And it could be in Afghanistan, it could be in Iraq, it could be in Syria, it could be back in Vietnam or during the Korean conflict. It could have been in the Second World War. It could have been in so many times and places.
It could have been 1,000 years ago. It could have been at any time. And you're right, absolutely. You really did hear that song.
And then a little while further on the song, we get these lyrics that you both sing together. You sing together. "We are gathered at the table. We stand before the throne. We kneel at the altar on the battlefield alone. We will sing this song in harmony, and our numbers will increase. We are the soldiers in the army of mercy and peace." Do you see that army increasing?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Have you found people?
You know what? We are so judged. We never. Here, you
This
are
is
doing
new
something
for
really
us.
special today, and I'm gonna speak to it right now. We write it. We don't know if people get it. So when you get it, and just to hear you reading it out loud is such a pleasure and an honor. So thank you, first of all. Thank you so much. And to say that you understand. And we have all kinds of subtle and hidden meanings in our lyrics and in our songs, but they are pretty much universal and timeless. And I think that's what makes them so powerful, because so many people could relate on so many levels. My brother came back from Vietnam, one of my brothers, and he suffered so much from the PTSD. And so did my father when he came back from World War II. We didn't know what to call it at that time. I think when my father came back, they called it shell-shocked. So, but we grew up with all of this, and so it affects so many relationships. And what we tell people is that we honor our soldiers and our military and our veterans, and we honor our nation and our world. And we seek to find commonalities through our music. There's so much divisiveness that's already out there, and so much conflict, inner and outer turmoil, and so much anxiety and depression. Wouldn't it be great if you could somehow receive an inspiration, write a song, a poem, something that goes out there that could be a balm, that could possibly facilitate understanding, peace, the things that we have in common. And so that's what we focus on. So yeah, we're very thrilled and excited when people do get it and they receive it well. So do we see that army growing? Yes, we do. Every time we talk to someone like you, to our listeners, our viewers today, we're pretty thrilled about that. We're pretty excited. And I think that's the hardest thing. We're all sitting here maybe working on our computers late at night or on our cell phones, and we're tuning into the news and all the global events and all that. We're wondering, how is the most ironic thing is that here we are feeling so isolated and so alone, and yet we're so globally connected in a way that we've never been before, because we have the advantage of the technology now. We have that capability of reaching out. We have that capability of sharing our message. So you mentioned a few minutes ago about, well, Joseph, our music makes us happy because we've learned how to find the joy in the sorrow. It's not to say that everything is peaceful, easy, sweet, bed of roses, but that we acknowledge those ups and downs, that pain and sorrow, but also that joy and that happiness, that peace and comfort that comes when you can share a common bond. And that common bond, that what do we want?
A quick break and allow you folks to listen to not me reading lyrics, but to Joe and Sheila singing one of their great songs. And we'll be right back after you have that pleasure.
We ran through the back door in the middle of the night. Didn't know what we ran for, through the snow and the ice. Headed straight for the border, just to keep warm, trying to find our mother in the middle of the storm. We entered the city just before dawn, singing, isn't it a pity something went wrong? Said a prayer in the corner of a room filled with mirrors. A young girl gave a warning. She said, don't interfere. No time for hesitation, to say the least. We are soldiers in the army of mercy and peace.
years in line for a morsel, forgiveness of sins. Looked up from the tower as the clock struck 12 on the evening of power. St. Mary's bells.
We are gathered at the table. We stand before the throne. We kneel at the altar on the battlefield alone. We will sing this song in harmony, and our numbers will increase. We are soldiers in the army of mercy and peace.
We cry when we're happy. We smile when we're in pain. We will all march together in the pouring poison rain. We are one in a million to one. Are the odds in our favor to make sure this work is done?
No more weapons of destruction, no more guns designed to kill, no more rules of mass instruction that annihilate free will. We will raise our hands in freedom, and our love will never cease. We are soldiers in the army of mercy and peace. We survive in a holocaust of treachery and deceit. We will fight no matter what the cost. We will not accept defeat. We are held in a higher hand, held to a higher truth, called to be a chosen man, no matter what we do. There's a light behind this curtain. There's a voice that calls our name. There's a future that is certain, breaking free from rusted chains. Break free, break free. Now we drink from a common well, and our prayers have been received. We are soldiers in the army of mercy and peace. We are soldiers in the army of mercy and peace.
Welcome back to Walking on the Weene Side, and today my very special guests, Joe Kidd and Sheila Burke. Do you folks have a website, by the way, where folks can learn more about your music and your backgrounds?
We do. We at joekiddsheila.com.
Right.
So,
By the way, folks, you have to know in order to find that Kidd is spelled Kidd. Okay.
And Sheila, Heifa. So I didn't know there were so many different spellings, but that's who we are. And we decided to keep it simple, so it's joekiddsheila.com.
So we don't forget it.
Yeah. And the other thing is, where are some of the places that folks can get a hold of this wonderful first recording of yours?
On that website, there's a number of links, and quite a few. It's a pretty comprehensive website that tells where everything is available. They can listen to it on Spotify. They can purchase it on iTunes, Amazon, all of the wonderful outlets that are available. And they can order it from us directly. They can order the actual CD from us if they wish. There's a contact email and a guest book if they wish to contact us there.
Okay, great.
And appreciate it if anybody wants to do that. We will respond.
By the way, folks, the name of that CD is Everybody Has a Purpose. And wow, even in the title, and of course that's the cover, one of the songs too, is the title of one song. But isn't that a powerful, powerful title? You even have a copy there. Why am I not surprised? Okay, I got to read some more lyrics here, folks. Now, this is a little different, and I just want to make sure. When I grow up, I'm going to dig to China. My grandpa says they walk upside down. When I grow up, I'm going to be a miner. Yeah, I'm going to live underneath this ground. So you folks have connections to the mining industry, the miners of the Appalachia, and that's a very special group of people. And I was wondering how those roots reflect themselves in the way you live your life and the way you think about the world.
Well, they empowered us. We grew up with those people. They taught us how to persevere. And in my case, my grandfather, that song that you mentioned is a true story. He taught me how to suffer and not be a crybaby about it, and pretty much not even let anybody know that it was happening. And he worked until he couldn't breathe any longer. He would come home, and I told this story earlier, that he would come home covered with coal dust and soot, and he couldn't wash his own hair because his shoulders were so big on top from shoveling coal and swinging the pickaxe or whatever it's called, that he couldn't lift his arms up over his head that high. His muscles would not allow that to happen. My grandmother had to give him a bath and wash his hair because he could not reach up from bending down inside that cavern. They didn't know if it was night or day. They didn't know when they were coming out. They couldn't tell how long they had been there, or whether it was day or night when they would come out. So that kind of work is just pretty unbelievable, really. It's amazing what some people can do. And that song spans, if you listen to it in a linear way, you'll see that it spans 5 generations. It covers 5 generations, actually. So that's another kind of not... Go ahead.
I was just about to go there to that, because I'm going to read a little bit more of it, folks. My roots hold true in the heart of these mountains. I'm going to rise up and look to the sun. Yeah, I'm going to rise up and look to my sons. Last night, my boy had a son of his own, with a future so bright, like a brand new day. He can do what he wants when he's full grown. I wonder if I'll hear him say, when I grow up, I'm going to dig to China.
Yes.
Now, do you have children?
Oh, yes.
And
One of the things when I first met was he said, my grandpa was a coal miner, and I said, really, mine too. He said, my dad was from Shinston, West Virginia, and his mom was from Kentucky. I said, really? My people are from Eastern Kentucky and West Virginia, too. And so we found out that we had so much in common, and what we've seen, and it's still very real to us, is generations of people. The hope and the idea is, I'm going to go do something else, but they chose to live there. Why? Because my roots hold deep in the heart of these mountains. The settlers came in and settled that region, and it was fairly remote. So they made it their own. They made it their home. They weren't very casual about it, but that was their home. A lot of times on the hillside, the family home place, the backyard would be a hillside, but you would find the family cemeteries. You would find history and culture that's handed down for generations. And so people didn't want to leave that. They didn't want to leave that. In my generation that came along, there was a lot of the out-migration where people came up to Detroit and they came up to the big cities to find jobs. And but then they call it Hillbilly Highway, I-75, because a lot of people would still travel back and forth to that area. And why? It's because family means so much. And those roots, that heritage, that tradition, falling in love with the whole, all of it. It was so meaningful and significant.
My father took me down to Shinston, West Virginia, when I was a young boy. I think I was 12 or 13. He took me to the coal mine where my grandfather had spent most of his life, and we stood at the mouth of that mine. It was still open. You could go down there. You weren't supposed to, but I did anyway. Mm-hmm. And I literally, not figuratively, I literally heard the voices and felt the presence of those people who were there for 100 years or however long it had been. It's real. It's not a fairy tale. It's quite real.
And of course it echoes not just in your music, but in some wonderful musical traditions of that area, and craft traditions and things like that. And anybody who has traveled through Kentucky and Tennessee and West Virginia has experienced some of that, seen some of that, and of course heard some of that. And anybody who, I guess when I was a kid in junior high, what they call middle school now, I learned what we call folk dance, square dance. And I remember the wonderful cadences in the calls, of course. Swing your partner, dozy-do.
Yeah.
Grab her arm and round you go. Now, you folks must have grown up with that music. Mm-hmm. Has it influenced the way you write your songs? Those music?
I'm sure it has. Yeah, I'm sure it did. We were encouraged to play that kind of music when we were young. I kind of rebelled against it. I didn't want to. I wanted to play Beatle music when I was a kid, and I didn't want any part of that Grand Ole Opry stuff. Not then, I didn't. But then, as I grew up and realized what was happening, of course, my view of that changed drastically. But absolutely, it did. When I was young, one of my uncles lived with us, and he was in a country music band, and he would come and he'd bring his guitar, and he taught me my first chord. I mean, so yes, absolutely, it does influence all the time. And Sheila has been singing country music as long as she's been able to talk. So.
Both of our families were musical, and that's what we would do for pastime. On a Saturday evening, we'd gather on the porch. We would sing for hours. Family would come by. That beautiful harmony. So guitar, banjo, auto harp, the hand percussion, all of that, just whatever you had. And I was telling a friend of mine, it's like we would sing every song that we knew, and when we ran out of that, we'd make them up. So that was
There's nothing like hearing. Go ahead.
We've been songwriters from our early childhood.
There's nothing like hearing your mother and her sisters sitting on the front porch just singing those good old, well, it wasn't even bluegrass, and they didn't call it bluegrass because Bill Monroe was the one that coined that phrase. But whatever that traditional music, whatever it was at that point, turned into bluegrass, and man, that still breaks my heart every time I hear it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's wonderful music. And it's a whole tradition, way of life that in many ways, while we're still holding on to some of the music and stuff, of course, much of what we're talking about is dying out. The coal industry, what is left of it is now strip mining that destroys those beautiful hills. And much of the dignity of that tradition, yes, and along with the illnesses and along with the suffering, but the dignity of it, I think, is disappearing, and I think to the detriment of a society that, once did really respect those kind of family traditions and that kind of incredibly, incredibly hard, laborious, back-breaking work.
You speak of dignity and the how that's disappearing not only in that culture. I believe that if we're not careful, we may lose a dignity as a race and as a society. I think in general, we better be careful, or it's going to happen to everybody.
Yeah, we in America have got to be very aware of that. I agree, Joe. And we'll be right back. But first, folks, you get to hear another one of Joe Kidd and Sheila Burke's wonderful songs.
My grandpa said, stay away from that shovel. Boy, don't you know it's a dangerous thing. All it can hold is hard work and trouble. I hope you never know the pain it can bring. All I could do was smile, turn around away. Never thought again of what he said. 'Cause in my bed, at the end of each day, visions and dreams were running through my head. When I grow up, I'm gonna dig to China. My grandpa said they woke upside down. When I grow up, I'm gonna be a miner. Yeah, I'm gonna live underneath this ground. 30 years have passed in the blink of an eye. My grandpa sleeps underneath this mud. I spend my days working till I die. I spend my nights coughing up blood. The other day, I heard a voice laughing as we were banging on his front door, saying, "Come on down, we got the fire crackling. We can make room for a couple more."
Yeah, for at least one more.
Run deep like the cold dark coal mines. I'll never forget what my people have done. My roots hold true in the heart of these mountains. I'm gonna rise up and look to the sun.
I'm gonna rise up and look to my sun. Last night my boy
had a son of his own,
with a future so bright,
with a future so bright,
like a brand new day,
like a brand new day.
He could do what he wants,
he can do whatever he
when
wants
he's full grown.
when he's full grown. I wonder if I'll hear him say,
I wonder if I'll hear him say,
when I grow up, I'm gonna dig to China. My grandpa said they walk upside down. When I grow up, I'm gonna be a miner. Yeah, I'm gonna live underneath this ground.
Grandpa, I'm gonna live underground.
Welcome back to Walking on the Weene Side. Now, I think some of you folks, we were just talking about this wonderful Appalachian culture and what we have to learn from it. And of course, many of us will never get to have those personal experiences. Most of us won't. But we can kind of have them vicariously, not only through Joe and Sheila's music, but I understand, Sheila, you have been working on a series of illustrated children's books. Is that right?
Yes. It's very new. I just presented on it at Michigan State Fair on September 1st. So it's called, I don't know if you can see this well enough or not, but it's called Sheila Burke's Appalachian Memories.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular one is called Just Want to Be Myself. And it's about a little girl who moves from the south up north, and she finds that she's very different, and of course she gets teased a little bit at school, and she visits Grandma, and Grandma says, just be yourself. And she encourages her to share her music, recipes, and crafts. So in the back of the book, about midway, are activities, which will include a link to our song, Just Want to Be Myself, which is featured on CD. And it will have a couple of kid-friendly recipes. And then there are crafts. There are things that children can color, cut out, and make. And what that stems from is when I was a child growing up in eastern Kentucky, we didn't have a lot of money for toys. We used whatever we had. So we used cookie cutters, bits of paper, scraps of fabric, buttons, lace, a little bit of glue, and we made magical things, and we passed a lot of hours. And then, of course, there's that incorporates all the family storytelling, the music, the traditions, the food, and there's also some study references in here, so it ties in with references to the Common Core state standards, such as what is Appalachia? So there's a map that shows what states are included. Why would the children tease this little girl about a different accent? Because their accent was influenced by the early settlers of the region, the Scottish and English settlers of that region. And then why would potato be used in a recipe for candy, homemade, it's peanut butter, pinwheel candy, but they would boil a potato and mash that up and include that with the confectioner's sugar, and it would stretch the ingredients. So when we were growing up, you might say it was hard times. We didn't have a lot of money to go out and get a lot of things, so we figured out other ways to do it. And I think that's an old Irish recipe, actually, probably handed down for generations.
Yeah. Now, what age group of children is this intended for?
Pre-kindergarten to, I'm guessing, about age 10, if they want to cut out the templates in the back and get fancy with it. For example,
pre-K through primary grades, folks. And this is the first one, but there are going to be more of these Appalachian Memories by Sheila. And it sounds to me like something, hey, grandparents, this is something to send for Christmas and Hanukkah and, that kind of present, because it sounds like a cool present. I could see sending it to my grandkids if they were young enough.
I could do one, kid. Thank you.
Now, obviously, you guys have been a really valued family, and you've been together for a long time, I take it. How long have you guys been together?
Honestly, everybody thought that from the day we met. We met about 5 years ago at a charity event for a friend of ours. We both were doing music. We kept bumping into each other at different events, and then Joe invited me about 4 years ago to join him on a song on his set.
On Soldiers of the Army of Mercy and Peace was the first song we ever sung together.
Which he had just written the night before. And then we began collaborating. So within 8 months, we won our first Detroit Music Award. Within the year, we came out with our CD. We went on to win additional awards, including a Global Music Award for our song Soldiers in the Army of Mercy and Peace. So it was a very natural fit, but people think we've been together forever. I think we're old souls that just finally found each other.
I think so. I think so.
When I asked her, I said, come on over here and sing a song. So she said, okay, and then she took off running, and I thought, I'm sitting there at the microphone saying, well, that one's gone. And then she came back. She had borrowed a Native American sacred drum to bring it back with and do the song with, and that was it. That was the end of the old life and the beginning of the new one.
It just clicked.
How
and
cool
it always happens.
Well,
so that's the script.
I thought you'd been together for ages. I guess I was fooled about that, but I can hear that relationship in the lyrics of the next song. I picked 3 songs that really, all of them wowed me, but I want, we can't talk about all the lyrics, so I said, what's this? And now, what is country without love, right? You gotta have a sweet, if there ain't a sweetheart, it ain't country. So
they're all true stories, by the way, Ken.
So let me just read a few lyrics here for you, folks. Ain't nothing sweeter in this whole world than a midnight snack with a country girl. Through the window, through the shadows, past the tree line, gotta make a beeline. Straight to your door, straight to your heart. No one else can keep us apart. Just like Mama said, before you go to bed, gotta clean your plate. Baby, don't be late. A secret recipe.
Come on. That's a good one.
Gotta keep it fun.
Yeah. So, tell me.
You're blushing over there.
There is a background to that one.
There is. Well, share it.
There's a restaurant in Allen Park, Michigan called Secret Recipe. It's where we would go and have dinner or lunch and talk about our future. So
I'm crushed. I was going to ask Sheila what kind of pancakes or what it was she made for you that got you rushing over to her place, and here you are going to a restaurant.
No.
If you want the truth,
Wait.
Buttered toast at 2:00 in the morning. Put a piece of bread in the toaster, put some butter on it. That's all you need.
A little cinnamon and sugar. But the thing drew us to this restaurant.
He's an easy keeper.
Sorry, chicken and dumplings. That's
my God.
Do you have a good recipe for chicken and dumplings?
I do. It's in another book that I'm writing, so you have to stay tuned. Chicken and dumplings, yes. The way my mother made it.
Lord,
great.
I tell you, that's one of the best. That's one of the best foods in the whole world. Good chicken and dumplings.
I think so. Thank you.
You don't need anything else. That's candy, and that's dessert and main course.
Now, wait a minute. Now, Sheila, what's your best dessert?
Well, the pinwheel candy that's in my little book. It's called, here's the funny thing, we used to call it tater candy. So, but it's made with peanut butter and confectioner's sugar, a little bit of butter, that. And like I said, we would boil the potato, make it real soft, and put that in with the ingredients. So it's now we call it pinwheel candy, but when I was a child, we called it tater candy. But that sounds odd, doesn't it? Who's going to buy tater candy, right?
I'll eat anything called candy.
It's incredible. It's incredible. It's so good. So that would be it. Oh, and pumpkin cake, and that's going to be in another one of my books too.
Oh, cool. So you share at least one recipe in each book, huh?
Two.
Two
in each book. Kid friendly, that's right. And something families can do together. Or even preschool. Something the kids can put their hands in and mix up and mash up and, have fun with. And I think that's how you remember things, is when you're actually doing things. And it's fun. So.
Okay, it'll make you happy when you try some. And there's a whole lot more where that came from. Don't need no fancy stove. Don't need no fork or spoon. Got those hands. All we need is love. And the stars and the moon. Together we will be everything we want to
secret anymore.
Baby, you and me, my secret recipe. Oh, I love
it. You gave away our secret.
No, actually I didn't. I got you guys to share about yourselves, and I think in doing so, you really have convinced me. Of course, I was already convinced, but I'll bet you've convinced a lot of the folks tuning into our show that they want to learn more about Joe Kidd and Sheila Burke. And they sure do want to listen to the wonderful music on Everybody Has a Purpose. And hey, folks, when you go over to Joe Kidd and Sheila Burke.com, look for Sheila's books. Well, the first one is out now. And who knows, maybe you'll get to cook up some good eating and have some good family fun. And boy,
That's right.
What's more important in this world than the thing peace, dignity, and love? So thank you. So thank you, Joe and Sheila, for sharing with us today and walking on the Weene side.
Thank you, Ken.
You are a delight to meet. I'm so pleased to meet you. We've enjoyed this so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We've got the second record already written, and it won't be released for a little while, but we're still quite busy doing all kinds of different things.
Well, now wait a minute. When you get that second one ready to go, I hope you're going to send me the lyrics so I can pick out the ones I like and come on back on the show so we can talk about some more stuff. And in the meantime, as exciting things happen, do remember to share them with us at It Matters Radio, because we do have that monthly newsletter. And folks, if you didn't know that, we do have a monthly newsletter from the show. And if you go to itmattersradio.com and sign up for that newsletter, we'll be happy to make sure you get it. And it'll have information from some of our wonderful guests like Joe and Sheila. And hey, folks, let's remember those three things, huh? Peace, dignity, love. And with that, have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody has a purpose to have and to hold. Everybody has a story that's never been told. Now I've got my reason for living, and I've got my heart on my sleeve, and I believe everybody has a feeling that rises above. Everybody has a passion, a heart full of love. Now I've got no secret to tell you, and I'm hiding nothing up my sleeve. You got to believe, yeah, yeah. Everybody has a purpose to have and to hold. Everybody has a story that's never been told.